This session is on variables, expressions, and statements. So variables is a placeholder that is used to store a value. Variables means, as the name indicates, we can change the value anytime. So we just keep a placeholder to store a value, and we can change the value of the variable at any point of time in your program. So there are three types of variables: local variable, instance variable, and static variable. So we are going to learn now on local variable. We will soon learn what is a static variable and instance variable in the further sessions. So if I give a statement like integer age equal to 20, here integer means, we are saying the data type here. And then age is nothing but the variable name. And equal to 20, the value that we are assigning to a variable. So we can write it as one statement like this, or you can split it and write it into two statements where we call integer age. If I say like this, what we are trying to say here, age is an integer. I wanted to name a variable called age, and that name and that variable is nothing but a of data type integer, which means that it can hold like 32 bits of data in it. If I define it as a byte age, then that means the age can hold from minus 128 to plus 127. So this part is called initialization part, where we are assigning a value to a variable. So you can split into declaration and initialization like this, or you can simply give both declaration and initialization in one step, which is int age is equal to 20. So these are the variable naming rules. Variables are case sensitive. That means if I have age in all in small case, and if you have another variable which is having age in capital, they too are considered as different variable names. They are not one and the same. So Java is case sensitive. So we have to use the appropriate names that we have already declared. If we use a different naming, then that is treated as a different variable. Always the variable will start with a Java letter, as we said before. So it can be it should start with a letter or dollar symbol or underscore character. And after the first character, it can contain numbers, but the first character should be always a letter. So variables cannot be a reserved word. We'll see what is a reserved word. So in the previous case where we said integer age is equal to int age is equal to 20. Here int is given as a data type. Actually, it is offered by the Java language. It specifies that a variable is of what data type. So in this case, integer is a keyword actually. So you cannot use the keyword as a variable name. So I cannot say byte int, or I cannot use int as a variable name, which is not allowed in Java. So you cannot use any keywords basically in any keywords as a variable name in Java. So for variable names, we recommend lowercase. Camel case notation should be used in case of multiple words. So constants will have all uppercase actually. These things we even learned sometime before. So valid examples of variable names is rate, like first name. Since it is having two words, I'm having F small and N capital. And you can also have with starting with underscore name, and then you can also have numbers in it actually, like address to. These are some invalid examples. You cannot have last dash name. So dash is a special, it's not allowed basically. We just allow only the letters, dollars, or characters, and numbers. We don't allow any other special characters. So last hyphen name, hyphen is not allowed. So that's the reason it is invalid. And then we have float. Float is looking like a valid name, but float is a data type name actually, and which is a reserved word or a keyword. So we cannot use that as a variable name. And then I cannot start a variable name with a number. So 401k plan. So 401 is something like a starting with the number. So I cannot start a variable with a number. So these are the naming rules for variables. And these are all the keywords that Java supports. So you have you don't need to memorize all these keywords, but you will be learning all these keywords while we do programming. So as you see there, whatever you know already is boolean is a keyword, byte is a keyword, int is a keyword, character is a keyword. So and then you would have noticed in the programs like having public, void. So those things are all keywords. Casting. So what do you mean by casting? Like, let's see in this example, I have integer j is equal to 20 and then long L is equal to j. So j is nothing but 20, and I'm assigning j to L. So since it is the value of 20, 20, you don't need to cast it into long and put it here actually. It can be directly stored, like, because you are putting a small value into a large container. So which is, you don't need to do any casting, it is be implicitly casted. So again, the same thing with the byte b is equal to 20. If you put a byte into an integer, I don't need to do any casting because integer is more supporting more numbers or supporting more range than the byte. So you don't need to do any implicit casting. So the ground rule is you cannot simply think about, you cannot put a larger element in a smaller container, whereas you can put a smaller element in a larger container. So that's the whole theory about it. And explicit casting, if at all I wanted to do that, I need to squeeze it and do it actually. So which means I'm going to lose my uh, lose my number basically. So for example, here I'm saying long L is equal to 20. So since long is of 64 bits, and if you are trying to do if you are trying to say like I wanted to basically put that long variable into an integer which is of 32 bits, you are squeezing the 64 bits and putting into a 32 bit, which is not going to automatically take place. So you have to say the compiler, hey, I wanted to do this, I wanted to store this long variable as an integer variable. So what I need to do is I need to apply this casting here. So this casting says here like this long variable L, I know that I wanted to convert this into integer variable and store it as an integer. So I put a braces and then put int here. So which means I'm going to convert this long variable into an integer and store it as an integer variable. The same case applies here as well. If you have an integer variable and if you want to convert it into a byte, it will not automatically takes place like what you see here. You have to basically explicitly say that I wanted to convert this integer into a byte, because let's say here I said an example of 20, but the integer may be having a bigger number. Let's say it is having 1000, but you cannot fit that 1000 into a byte. So if you try to do that, it's going to not going to uh, allow you, because it cannot support that basically. So the 1000 will be squeezed into a number which is allowed by the byte representation, which is going to be minus 128 to plus 127. So basically the programmer should be explicitly doing the conversion if he's trying to put a um, bigger value into a smaller container. Expressions, we have different types of expressions. We call arithmetic expressions, which is formed with the arithmetic operators. You know what is arithmetic operators? It's plus, minus, slash, star, modulus. These are arithmetic operators. So anything that is, any expressions that is formed with these operators is going to be arithmetic expressions. So we can have a plus b, 10 plus 20, 10 minus 5, 10 star 30. So basically it is connecting to variables or two values with the arithmetic operators. So these are any expression formed with arithmetic operators is called arithmetic expressions. Relational expressions, expressions that is formed with relational operators. So what are the relational operators we have is like a greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, equal to, greater than, and again equal to should be the case. It's not just equal to, because the equal to is called as the assignment operator, because you use equal to assign one value to another value. If you want to compare two values, like I want to compare a equal to b, then I have to use equal to, because if you say a equal to b, then you are putting b's value into a. That is what it means actually. It is basically an assignment statement, like how you do a is equal to 10. So in order to differentiate the assignment and the relational operator, they give equal to for assignment and equal to for relational operator. So this basically evaluates to a true or false statement. So a greater than b ends up in true or false. So in this case, a's value is 10, b's value is 5, 10 greater than 5 resulting in true. A less than b results in false. A equal to b results in false. A greater than or equal to b is going to result in true. So basically the relational expression is going to give you a boolean value as the output. The third one is the logical expression that is formed with boolean operators. So what are the boolean operators? Like you have like double ampersand, double pipe symbol, and exclamatory mark. These are the boolean operators. So in this case, I say like A's value is true and B's value is false. When I say A and B, AND operator will be evaluating to true whenever everything is true. OR operator will be evaluating to true if at least one of the element is true. So here in this case, A is true and B is false. So true and false is going to be always false. When you say A or B here, A is true and B is false. So either one should be true. So it is going to evaluate into true. And not A is going to be negating the value. So A is equal to true. So it is going to become false here. So these are basically logical expressions also going to evaluate into true or false value, like the Boolean value. And statements forms a complete unit of execution, and it is terminated by with a semicolon. So any statement in Java is going to be end up with a semicolon. So we already learned about declaration statement where you are saying int age is int age, and you can also declaration and assignment statement, which is int age is equal to 20, is going to be combining the initialization and the declaration statement. And we also have like expression statement and control flow statements. Expression statements is you can have different types of expression statements. Like the assignment statement is one type of expression statement where you say year is equal to 2020 or age is equal to 20, like that. And we have increment decrement statement where you are saying a plus plus. That means if a is equal to 10 and you say a plus plus, it is going to be a's value is going to be turned out into 11. And minus minus b is the same thing. Like if b's value is 10 and if you say minus minus b, it is going to turn out into 9. Control flow statements is going to be changing the flow of execution. So in till now what we type is like the first line we type like 10 lines of program. So what happens, the first line is getting executed first, second line will be next, third line will be next, like that. It is going to follow the sequential order. But when you use control flow statements, it is going to change the flow of execution. It doesn't need to be seen in a sequential order. So some parts of the program may be executed depending on a condition. Some parts may not be executed. Some part of the program may be repeatedly executing for a number of times. So these are uh, the the keywords or the statements that used to change the flow of control of the program is called control flow statements. So in the control flow statements we have conditional statements. So we are going to talk about in conditional statements what is if else switch case in the next session. And then we are going to we have looping statements, which is used to repeat a particular block of code multiple number of times based on a condition. So we are going to discuss about the keywords while, do while, and for. And the last one is branching statement, which is going to be coming out of a loop, or we are just trying to break a loop using the break statement, continue, and then the return statement. So we are going to discuss about each of these things in the next session. As such, the statements are, there are a lot of, there are different types of statement where you call declaration statement, control flow statement, and expression statements. Control flow statements can be further classified into conditional statement, looping statement, and branching statement. So blocks, a block is a group of 0 or more statements between the balanced curly braces. So as you see, we write a class like this, public class block demo, and we have a main method. And you see, they are having a blocks actually. So curly braces. That means it is class block demo encompasses the main method in it actually. And the main method, whatever you are writing inside the main method, that belongs to the main method. The main method belongs to the block demo. So basically, the block denotes like I contain these things actually. So let's say I'm defining a variable integer a is equal to 10 here, and then I just put a block and then I put a integer b is equal to 15. This means that the variable a can still be accessed inside the block, inside the inner block actually, where the b is present. But I cannot redeclare the variable like integer a is equal to 11. I cannot do this. Why I cannot do this is because integer a is already available to this block. You cannot do the a declaration again. Of course, you can modify the value of a, but you cannot redeclare the value here because a is already declared outside the block. When I declare anything outside the block, it is always accessible inside the block as well. So you cannot, once you define a is equal to 10, you cannot redeclare that variable inside the block because it is already available to the inner block. So this is not possible. This is going to give you a compilation error if you do this. So, but we can always, increment the value of a. That like I'm putting a is equal to a plus 10. That means a was originally having 10 and now a becomes 20. And if you print the a outside the block, it is going to give you 20. And now if I do a plus plus again, now a's value was 20 and now it is going to increment to 21 because the inner block also, is a is available to the inner block, and you are going to will be able to change the value of a both inside the block and outside the block here. And you cannot access a inside, inside a class. Basically it can be accessed only within main because it is declared inside the main. So whenever I say integer a in the main program, that is a is a local variable and it is local to the main method. B is equal to 15 means b is a local variable and it is available only to the inner block that we defined in the main method. So when I try to access b outside the block it has been declared, I'm going to get error. I cannot change the value of b like this because b is only if you can access b in only this block. Outside the block there is no reference of b. I mean the compiler does not know what is the, when you run this program, the program does not know what is this b because it is defined only inside this block. Only this block has knowledge about b and outside this block you don't have any knowledge. Similarly a can be accessed only within this block that it is containing in it, actually like only in the main block. If you try to access a in this class level, after the class you will not be able to know the a. So this is called as the scope of the variables, and the scope is kind of limited to only the block that it belongs to. Okay, let's move on to Eclipse and try to do some demonstration of these variables. Let's create a new class here. I'm going to name it as variable demo. I'm going to check on this box so that I get this public static void main, otherwise I need to type this block. So as you see here, you have a variable demo block. This is a class level block and you have a main block here. So inside this main I'm going to define, before going into variables, let's see why we need these variables and what is the use of these variables by this demo. Let's say I wanted to add like couple of numbers here, like sys out. I wanted to say like 3 plus 2 equal to, then say 3 plus 2. So which is going to give me, as you know, this is going to give me 3 plus 2 is equal to 5. I'm going to do like the same thing. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here. Let me do the copy again. One more time. So here I'm going to do 3 plus 2 here, and then say 3 minus 2 here, and 3 star 2 here, and 3 slash 2 here. Okay, so what I'm going to get here is, here I'm going to change it to minus 2, and this is going to be 3 star 2, and this is going to be 3 slash 2. So I didn't do anything anything using variables here. I'm just going to save this program and then trying to run this program. So I have never used a variable, but it gives me the expected result. Now I'm asking you to change. I wanted to add not 3 plus 2. Now I'm asking you, I want to do it for 10 plus 2, or I would say 10 and 5. So add 10 and 5. So what do you have to do here? If you are not using variables, you are going to go and change each of this, like change it to 10, change it to 5, and do it for all these cases. Whatever I have done here, you have to do it for this. And later I wanted to add and subtract, multiply a different two numbers. How will you do that? So each time when I'm asking you to do different numbers, you have to change all these values, right? So instead of that, there should be a better way of doing this. So there comes your variables. So you can simply define two variables. Integer a is equal to, let's say 10, integer b is equal to, let's say 5. So all that I need to do is, here instead of giving 3 plus 2, I'm going to give a plus b. So what is going to happen? A is a placeholder of 10. A is a placeholder which is storing a value of 10. B is a placeholder which is storing a value of 5. So when I say a plus b here, it is going to be 10 plus 5. The moment when you want to change it here, you can change it to 3 and 2, or any value that you need to do here. So which is going to work fine, right? So I'm going to put it like a minus b here, and one is going to be a into b, and this one is going to be a divided by b. So we are good here. But the problem is we changed it. We get the expected output, but the problem is we don't change the string value there. I mean, whatever we print as it is, right? So that value is not changed yet. So we get the answers right, like 15, 5, 50, and 2, but we still didn't change this 3 minus 2, 3 star 2, which was still there. So I cannot again put, change this to 10 plus 5, 10 minus 2, 10 minus 5, like that. Again, it is the work involved in that. So when I say 10 plus 5 equal to, it gets printed as is here, right? Because it is in the double quotes. So how do I change this? So in this, if you see 10 is a variable and 5 is a variable, but plus and equal to is going to be a constant, right? It is not going to change basically. So it is going to, we need it to appear as this, okay? When we need anything to appear as this, we need to put it in the quotes, right? So first what we need is, we need to print the A actually. A means I don't want to put A in the quotes because I wanted to print the value of the A. So when I say system.println A plus, it is going to print 10 here. And after 10, what I need to print, I wanted to print a plus here. So I wanted to put plus inside the quotes. So I'm just concatenating 10 and then with a string, a number with a string. So 10 plus is done here. And then what I have to do after this is just add it with what I need now is b here, the value of b, which is going to be 5. So I need 5 here. So a plus means 10 plus will be now added to 5, which is going to be resulting in 10 plus 5. Now I need to print equal to, right? So I'm going to add this 10 plus 5 with the constant or the string equal to. And now I get basically 10 plus 5 equal to, and 10 plus 5 equal to is going to be concatenated with the actual 10 plus 5 value. So all that we are trying to do here is put A's value, add it with the symbol plus, add it with the actual B value, add it with the symbol equal to, add it with the result of A plus B operation. So that's what we are trying to do it here. So if we do this for all these cases, it's going to be working fine. Let me copy this and put it for all these cases below. Okay, all that I need to change is here it is going to be not the plus symbol, it is going to be the minus symbol, and this is going to be the star symbol, and this is going to be the slash symbol. I'm going to save this program and I'm going to run this. So right click and you can say run as and Java application. This is one way of running it, or you can just click on this play button here, which is going to run this. Now you see it is getting 10 plus symbol, and then b's value 5, and then equal to symbol, and then the actual addition of these two values. So if now it is becoming very easy for us. All that if I want to change it to a different number, all that I need to do is 100 by 5. I can simply change it. Now all my results is going to change it to 100 and use 100 in my expressions actually. So this is the advantage of using variable. You can change this value of the variable anytime and inside the program, and you don't need to update all your code values inside the program.